All right, here with reaction, former senior counsel to President Trump, Kellyanne Conway, along with former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. You know, Kellyanne, I'll start with you tonight because you're a pollster and you're great at your job, and we've known each other for 27 years, for crying out loud. And you look at every single poll, the lowest approval rating, depending on which poll it is, that they've ever had, you know, culminating with a 33% approval rating with Quinnipiac. And is there anything that they could do within the range that they have, and that is keeping the climate alarmist religious cult happy? Because I don't see anything that they can do on the economy or on the borders that will satisfy the base of this new Democratic Party, which means he's in a box. He's got to just hope and pray that things get better, and that's not usually how it works.
It doesn't work that way, Sean. People won't vote for you if they feel like you're not listening to them and not connecting with them, and he's clearly not. He's down in the polls among suburban women, key to his victory in 2020, among independents, key to his victory, and young people who overwhelmingly voted for him in 2020. They've all just cratered in their approval of his performance in the job and on key issues. And he's got another problem now. You just alluded to it with Peter Doocy. He's got a problem inside the Senate Democratic base. So Gary Peters, who represents the state of Michigan, that is near the Canadian border, not the Mexican border. He's against removing Title 42 because he heads up the Democratic Senate Committee. And he's looking at the electoral map this year, and he sees trouble in places where Joe Biden's approval rating is in the low to mid-30s. Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. Do you see a trend here? And so Joe Biden's got nobody happy. I think the only thing declining more than Joe Biden's approval ratings is Joe Biden. And people now see that. They're talking about 2024. I find that to be very arrogant at best. Ukrainians are suffering. Americans are suffering under the yoke of inflation and border insecurity. Crime is rising in our cities. Kids are still trying to catch up from that lost learning. We have real problems and pain here. And he's talking about his 2024 political prospects. But I have never seen a president and a vice president's numbers fall so precipitously and them not wanting to listen and learn. Obama and Bill Clinton, the only President Clinton will ever have, they both suffered grievous losses in their first midterm elections and snapped back around, moderated a little bit, and won re-election. Joe Biden shows no signs of his willingness or his ability to do that.
You know, you're right on target, which leads me to Governor Huckabee from Arkansas. You could say a lot of things about Bill Clinton, but he was a great politician. And after that midterm election, and he got walloped, he came back with the era of big government is over, the end of welfare as we know it. Prior to that or after, at some point, there was a Sister Soldier moment that went viral. So he showed an ability to read the public lack of satisfaction with his job, and he turned, he changed, he shifted, he adjusted. I don't see that Biden has the capability to do it. I don't think his base would tolerate it.
Sean, there's no education in the second kick of a mule. And there's a problem that Joe Biden has that Bill Clinton didn't. Clinton might get kicked once by the mule, but he never let it happen again. Joe Biden stands there and gets kicked over and over and doesn't realize he's been kicked in the head by the mule. And that's his problem. You were talking a moment ago, and I burst out laughing. I'm glad I wasn't on air and the mic wasn't hot, because it might have been a little bit troubling. But when you were saying you invite Jen Psaki to come on and spend an hour, I thought, yeah, there's a greater likelihood that I'm going to ride a unicorn in the Leprechaun Rodeo to win the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Well, wait a minute. I believe in miracles. That could happen. You never know.
Well, that would be one that would be of biblical proportion if it ever should happen. But this is an administration that does not want to answer the questions because they don't have an answer for those questions. And Joe Biden can say that he wants to run again. Let's hope he does. Nothing would be better to forever ensconce Republicans in power. And I think Republicans need to be very careful that we don't rest too easily on his failures, but that we show the American people that there's really some policies we'd like to implement. We'd like to cut their taxes. We'd like to secure their border. We'd like to bring America back to the world with a level of respect. We'd truly like to see the oil and gas that's under our own feet supply our energy in an affordable way rather than paying Putin and the Saudis a ransom in order to have enough to heat our homes and cool our homes in the summer. We've got a real message out there. It's time to use it.
You know, Newt Gingrich was on my radio show today, Kellyanne, and we both agree it's kind of time for Republicans not to take it for granted, not to run on Joe as a failure, although that's pretty transparent and obvious, but to lay out the ideas and promises and put it down on paper that if you elect us, we will do these very specific things. I like the idea because then we get to hold them accountable for what they promise they'll do. Do you like that idea?
I love it, and it's reminiscent of the 1994 contract with America and Newt Gingrich's great success. And you know, Sean, that contract with America was signed on September 27th, 1994, on the Capitol steps right behind it in the image. That was 5 weeks before Election Day. This is all coming together so much more quickly, but you're right. People vote according to affirmative policies, forward-looking principles, and that's important. And just one last thing. Joe Biden seems unable to do what the last many presidents, right, left, and center, were able to do, which is be led by the people once in a while. Presidents both have to lead the people and be led by the people in this way. People are so excited to not have to wear a mask on airplanes and on Amtrak. And instead of him standing up and saying, this happened on my watch, on Donald Trump's watch, you had to wear a mask, you had to stay home for 45 days. Instead, they're thinking of suing the CDC or suing and saying, let's take this all the way to Supreme Court. This makes no sense. Once in a while, claim a victory, go where the people are. They don't seem to have a sense of people, and I think his 50 years in Washington turns out to be a tremendous liability, not an asset.
Governor, I want to give you the same question. Would Republicans making promises on paper hold them more accountable, and they have to have their words and promises match their rhetoric, their actions match their rhetoric?
Absolutely, and I think it's an important thing. Republicans ought to be willing to be held accountable. Every person who's elected, I don't care what party they're with, they ought to be accountable for the things that they said they were going to do. And if they do it, they deserve to be reelected. If they don't, they need to get the boot.
I think the unicorn is definitely in the equation down the road. Governor, great to see you. Kellyanne, great to see you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.